Dun, dun, dun. War for the Planet of the Apes. Apes together, strong. I totally should have grown out my beard for this. Ape-like makes sense. But in all seriousness, I'm not wearing pants. War for the Planet of the Apes is directed by Matt Reeves and is written by Matt Reeves and Mark Bomback. It stars Andy Serkis, Woody Harrelson, Steve Zahn, Karen Knoble, and Amaya Miller. Yeah, did anyone know that Maurice was played by a female? I don't think anybody knows that. We need to give more recognition to the daggum motion capture work that is done in this day and age. For heaven's sakes, Academy. You're not going to listen. You're not going to listen. I found a Snickers bar in my coat. It's a good day. So you got Rise of the Planet of the Apes, you got Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, now you have War for the Planet of the Apes. And does it make a satisfying conclusion to what is so far an excellent trilogy? Well, I guess we'll find out by, of course, starting with the characters. You've got Caesar returning, played by Andy Serkis. He is at his prime. He's old, he's aged, he's war-wise, if that's even believable. He is literally the aged John Connor we never got. His character is incredibly deep. I loved it. I was tear-jerked, heart-wrenched by his character and by his interaction with other characters. This is incredible considering, believe it or not, that's not real. It's not real. This is the first film in history where I actually could not tell. I mean, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes did a great job, but I really could not tell. At some of the close-up shots, I'm like, what? Especially with Maurice. Maurice is so... I've loved Maurice from the beginning. It's always the supportive Samwise Gamgee character that we always end up loving so much. But that does not discredit Caesar. This is one of the few trilogies that we have a protagonist that we really, really care about. And my gosh... so good. Caesar and his tribe have progressed, they have a good governing system, and they're in the middle of a pretty nasty war with humans. Kind of similar with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. You've got the apes encampment, and then you've got the humans encampment, except now the humans encampment, they're just a bunch of douches. Let's talk about the villain in this movie, played by Woody Harrelson. He's serviceable, okay? And that's okay, because, like I said, rarely we get a great protagonist that is as deep and as grounded as Caesar. And Caesar carried this film. And Bad Ape didn't end up bothering me. He was a comical character, and we haven't really gotten much comedy since the first movie. The middle film, I know, is supposed to be like the dark and dreary part of the trilogy, but Matt Reeves took a very different approach on this. I'd say that this one is actually the darkest of them all, and he needed a comical edge, and I really appreciated Bad Ape for that. He wasn't over the top. Great. The acting. Possibly the best I've seen in film. Period. And I'll tell you why. It's not just because the motion capture work is so incredibly convincing. It's because Andy Serkis, man. People think that we just kind of rant and rave about Andy Serkis just because it's a fun thing to do. No, we don't. No, we're not just praising him because we think it's fun. We're praising him because he invokes so much emotion into his characters that you just don't see in regular performances today. And for heaven's sakes, the special effects artists that work with him and work with his facial expressions and with such just a heart-wrenching performance, such as this one. I mean, that's impressive, and it's all a part of the acting. And we're not just talking about Caesar. Maurice, Rocket, Koba in the last film. It's all incredible. And I had no idea that Maurice is played by a female. How do we not know that? We need to know these things. We need to know these things so that we give the proper recognition to the actors. Now, I'm not saying that Woody Harrelson didn't do a great job, but Woody Harrelson did a fine job. Personally, I think he's typecast as the sarcastic type, and he really wasn't that sarcastic in this movie. He was more sinister, and he's supposed to be kind of like an ominous presence, this kind of Hitler-like dictator leader. But this film was about the apes. 90% of the time, we saw apes on screen. And I loved it. They looked great, they acted great, and they just tore my heart out. The dialogue, it's deep, it's emotional, it's perfect. I didn't have one single problem with the dialogue in this movie. Everything that was said had a purpose. Everything that was said was in the perfect place. And everything that was said correctly by great characters and portrayed by excellent acting. The story for War for the Planet of the Apes is much more personal than the others. The other ones are really just telling the story of the apes. But no, this one's Caesar's story. I mean, all the way. We really got to follow the footsteps in the snow from rise to dawn to war, on what Caesar has become in the eyes of other apes and humans. In this film, Caesar will be tried, tested, and broken. Something that I don't think he needed, but then it happens, and it's so necessary to making Caesar greater than he already was. I couldn't imagine that. This film is a lot more than just a big clash between humans and apes. It's war, but you're not in the battle. It's more of the effects that war has on a civilization, whether it be apes or humans. Let's look at some of my only issues with the film, and that is in the story. And that is, this film is loaded with circumstantial bullcrap. And for those of you who do not know what circumstantial bullcrap is, it's plot drivers and things that just happen because. Mostly because we just need something to drive the plot along. I can't spoil anything, so I'll just say that there are times where certain characters should not be seen, but they are literally right in the open. They're right there. I mean, you just had to be an idiot for not seeing the enemy. It's right there, for heaven's sakes. But something really important to the plot is happening. And so we had to suspend disbelief and just accept it. Predictability. Good old Matt Reeves fashion. You just never know where the flip the story's going to go. Right when you think that it's going to go one way, it decides to go that way. And it really isn't frustrating. It doesn't confuse me. I now expect it from Matt Reeves. But at the same time, even when I'm expecting it, I still don't expect what's going to happen, which makes the film incredibly engaging. If you can't have a big twist at the end that's going to be like, oh my gosh, then you might as well kind of toy with your audience a bit without frustrating them. I mean, you want to have a nav point. You want to be going in a certain direction. You don't want to just be like, we're going in this, no, we're just going to go straight out of left field. Maybe tell a cliche story, but from point A to point B to point C, try to find resourceful and different ways to get from each point to another point. Moral lesson. There's so many lessons to be learned from this film. I mean, it's so deep. It's so deep. I mean, I learned more from these apes than I do from most characters that are human in movies. It's incredible. What I learned was let go of your pride. For heaven's sakes, let go of your daggum pride. It's not worth it. And also, nature wins. Always. Yeah, we've seen plenty of propaganda in films about how Mother Nature is truly the most powerful. Yeah, I get that, but this movie isn't shoving it in your face or down your throat. No, it's just necessary. I mean, it's the planet of the apes. What's gonna happen? I don't know. It's right in the daggum title. Guys, I had a hard time with this movie, to be honest, okay? Because after the film, I kept thinking about that daggum circumstantial bullcrap, okay? And I have a hard time letting go of it. So I really had to think about it. And it wasn't until about noon today that I realized, okay, I can't deny that I liked this movie just ever so slightly more than Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Circumstantial bullcrap aside, I cried a lot in this movie. And for good reason. I loved it. From start to finish, I cannot deny it. This movie is the 5th greatest film on the list. So, War for the Planet of the Apes, do I really need to say it? For heaven's sake, just go see the daggum movie. Every man, woman, and child should see this film. And yes, children, you need to grow up. Deal with the dark side of life. If apes were ever to take over the planet, you just gotta see the daggum movie. But the most important thing is that you tell me what you thought about it below, because I absolutely care to know. And to get more face-explodingly awesome reviews from me, yours truly, then hit the daggum subscribe button, and I will see you next time on MovieSlayer. Boom, boom.